Welcome back to the Good as Gold Stock Exchange, the series where we take a look at the rise and fall of Pokemon usage stats in official VGC tournaments. Today, we're looking at the stats from the most recent tournament, Atlanta 2025. You likely know that Regulation I was announced and starts in May. That means this is our last Regulation G regional. While we do have some other tournaments like the Seville Special and Monterey Regional, which will still be in Regulation G, but since those are smaller events and aren't streamed, that means the usage stats are not only delayed, but also not all released. Personally, I would love to cover them, but since it's not a great comparison and we'll have incomplete data, I unfortunately won't be making a video for them. That being said, let's take a look at our last major Regulation G streamed event. Just before we get into it, make sure to subscribe. We find ourselves back in North America in Atlanta. As usual, we will consider our top gainers, top losers, and review the rise and fall predictions from the last exchange. Let's get into it. Our top gainers are Indeedee Female, Landorus, Koraidon, Lunala, as well as a number of the members of the Arubega 6. Indeedee Female has shot up 5.7%. Indeedee is a great pairing for both Calyrexes, especially Calyrex Ice, and with Calyrex Ice taking the #1 restricted spot today, it's not surprising to see an increase in Indeedee as well. Michael Kelsch used Calyrex Ice and Indeedee to win the Stockholm Regional, so it's likely players are trying teams similar to his. Landorus also saw a jump of 3.3%, leaving it at 17.8. With the decrease of 4 grass types this time around, Pokemon that usually resist Landorus's strong ground stab, and the increase of both electric dragons, this ground offense is seeing more use. Pokemon using Terra Fire, like Koraidon and Calyrex Ice, also saw an increase, which gives this special attacker more high priority targets to nuke with Earth powers. Koraidon and Miraidon saw 3 and 2.9% increases as well. With Groudon usage at an all-format low, the other Sunsetter in Koraidon saw an increase. With the dip in Calyrex Shadow as well, Koraidon suddenly becomes the fastest restricted in many matchups, considering most Miraidon do not run max speed these days. A number of the Arubega 6 also saw increases, as we see Miraidon, Whimsicott, and Farigiraf go up 2.9, 3, and 2.6%. Perhaps being the tail end of the format, players are more likely to play what is known to be good, rather than spending more time innovating for a format that is about to end. Lunala also increased 2.3%, bringing it to 5.2. I believe the main part of its increase is the hype train going for it, as it won Vancouver 2 regionals ago, and placed second at Stockholm, our last regional. The impact unique picks can have when they do well in large tournaments can be very impressive to see. The decrease of Calyrex Shadow also likely helped its case this time around. Our top losers are Calyrex Shadow, Rillaboom, Ogerpon Hearthflame, Ogerpon Cornerstone, Urshifu Rapid, and Terapagos. Calyrex Shadow saw a big drop of 7.6%. After a big rise last tournament, this is nothing new. Calyrex Shadow yo-yos quite a bit between tournaments, and this is just par for the course. The most used Pokemon tend to have bigger usage swings, simply because their overall usage is much higher. Calyrex was up 11.2% last tournament, so it being down this time is expected. Similarly, Urshifu Rapid saw a 4.9% decrease, which although is a large drop, again is not uncommon for Urshifu due to the raw high usage it has. Similar to Calyrex Shadow, these Pokemon tend to see big swings as players over and under prepare for them from one tournament to the next. Rillaboom saw a very sharp drop of 5.3% after making a rise last week, bringing Rillaboom back down to about where it was in Vancouver. Decreases in good matchups like Urshifu Rapid and Groudon, as well as increases in its bad matchups like Calyrex Ice, as well as things that decrease its value like Farigiraf and Indeedee seeing a rise, all combined to put a stop to Rillaboom's short-lived increase. Both Ogerpon Hearthflame and Cornerstone are down 4.9 and 4.5%. This is very unusual to see that both are down, as when one rises the other tends to fall since they compete for a team slot being the same Pokemon. Perhaps Calyrex Ice being the most used restricted had a role in these grass types drop. Although Hearthflame is hit neutrally by ice attacks, Cornerstone is still weak to ice. But generally the sturdy ability allows it to help stall out Trick Room turns by cycling Spiky Shield and using its ability to stick around. And both of these are also still able to hit Calyrex super effectively. Notably, both Rillaboom and Amoonguss are down at this tournament as well. This means that all 4 grass types that were competing for those top 3 spots are all down. This could have contributed to Miraidon's rise as well, since these electric resists saw a dip. The fall of all these grass types is quite the anomaly, and perhaps just NA uses grass types less than EU. Terapagos also saw a decrease of 4.8%. You may recall this was the Pokemon we predicted was overvalued last tournament, so we expected to see this big drop. Although we pointed to Zamazenta making a comeback as part of the reason for the expected Terapagos drop, Zamazenta didn't move much this time around. Instead, the decrease of Calyrex Shadow, one of Terapagos' better matchups, as well as the increase in Koraidon, something else that can hit Terapagos with super effective fighting attacks, are the likely reasons for this decrease. Last week we said that Iron Hands was undervalued, but it dropped 1% this week. I actually expected Miraidon to rise, which did, and more specifically, the Arubega 6 team surrounding it to rise with it. As mentioned, Miraidon and many of its supporting cast did in fact see increases, but Iron Hands and Ogerpon Hearthflame both dropped. It looks like players were still using the archetype, but decided to experiment with these last 2 team slots. In a small deviation from the norm for this series, but we will be foregoing our overvalued, undervalued, and prime picks for this week. Since there are no more Regulation G tournaments for us to compare our predictions to, I believe the time usually spent on this segment will be better used working on other content. In summary, Calyrex I takes first place with a 1.4% increase, leaving Calyrex Shadow in second. Miraidon takes third place, and Koraidon, for the first time all format, lands in the top 4. Lunala also took 8th place with a 5.2% usage, as we see Groudon left behind. Urshifu and Incineroar maintain first and second despite some drops. Rillaboom holds on to third thanks to its large increase from last week despite its decrease this week, as well as the other competing grass types also dropping. Raging Bolt takes a surprise rise to 4th with 23.7% usage overall. With Regulation G coming to a close, let's look forward to Regulation I. What restricted pairings do you think will see the most usage? Thanks again to the patrons for supporting the channel. Joseph Harriet, Brendan Donegan, Mappo and Julia in the Delybird tier, and Harmon in the Iron Bundle tier. Big thanks to you for watching the series.